Okay, well, hi everyone, and thank you very much for watching or listening. Liam Harcher here today with another episode of Presenting Champions for the Simply Inspired podcast. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, very special athlete, and a very special coach. This man's doing some great work, not only in sports, but also in coaching and giving back. Today's guest, Thomas Little, who has achieved a lot. And we were just talking about this. He's achieved so much. I've actually got a list here because it's as long as my arm. So we've got Judo, we've got Commonwealth Tournament bronze, we've got 8-time Welsh champion, 1-time British champion, school games, bronze medalist, silver, gold, 1-time each for those, European Cup medalist, wrestling, 4-time Welsh champion, current number 1, British champion, British Open silver medalist, and boxing 2-0. So as well as that, Thomas coaches extensively. So we'll be talking about that as well, because as always with my podcast, it's not just about sports. It's always about giving back, contributing to people's lives, sharing the life lessons that people have learned along the way in their journey to the top. So Champ, thank you for coming on the show. I hope I've done that justice, and it's awesome to have you here today, mate. I'm buzzing.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
No worries at all, mate. No worries at all. So you've achieved a lot, and we'll talk about the past, we'll talk about the present and the future, because like I was saying just now, before we started recording, the best is yet to come. So we'll definitely talk about that. But to give people the foundation about your journey, we'll go back in time to how you started off. So starting at the beginning, what was it that initially inspired you, as a youngster or whenever it was, to want to compete in combat sports in what you're doing now, basically? What initially lit your fire?
So I started training when I was 4 years of age, judo, and believe it or not, my school said to my mother at 4 years of age, "You've got to take him somewhere to release energy because he is wild." So my mother had a friend who said to take him to judo, and that's where it all started. And then, well, it never stopped. It's got 24 years under my belt now, 25, is it? Something like that. And yeah, obviously it shows discipline. And well, it worked a little bit.
Absolutely amazing. So wow, that is a long time you've been.
Yeah, very long.
But it's amazing, as you say, it shows discipline, commitment. So at that young age, what was your process? Was it sort of love at first sight, like, yeah, I want to do this? Or was there sort of an initial, you had to find your feet a little bit and everything like that?
From what I can remember, I was a wild child, but it was a very good way to have an outlet, just go wild, no repercussions, all controlled environment. And I just fell in love with it straight away. Like the toughness, the grappling, getting stuck in, I just loved it all. And then technically it grew. I just happened to be good at something. It was accident more than anything. I just kept going. And then all of a sudden I started to grow as an athlete rather than just someone who was going. And yeah, progressed from there.
Absolutely. Now, you touched on something interesting there as well. When I interview people, they go through a process usually of obviously enjoying their sport, obviously whatever their sport is, but then realizing actually, I can go far with this, I can win stuff, I can achieve stuff, and to take it sort of to a higher level more than just being fun. So with yourself, what age were you and what was your process when it went from being fun? Well, I mean, obviously, hopefully it's still fun now, but when it went from being just fun,
Yeah.
it's being like, actually, I can win and take this a long way, if you get what I mean.
So with me, the first time I represented Wales in the Celtic Cup, and I was 8 years of age. I was captain. I think from that point on, I won every fight as well. So I had gold in my category. I think from that point on, I realised, even at that young, I thought, oh, I might give this a go. Because at the time, I was still playing rugby, still playing football. I was swimming. I was into everything. Like my mother took me everywhere. So when I went home, I slept. Because I was hyperactive. But yeah, so I sort of chose judo. Well, it chose me. I just went down that path. I think from there on, I started training more regular. And then after that, by the time I was in secondary school, I was picked up properly by the Welsh squad. Like I was in the Welsh squad anyway, but then they started to focus more time on me, bring me down to sessions in Sport Wales in Cardiff, midweek and weekends. And then it went from there for when I was age 15. So literally, straight after my GCSEs, I went full time, lived in Cardiff, trained up to 8 hours a day. And then I think that was the milestone in my life where I thought, oh, now I have to knuckle down. Because before that, to me, it was still just doing it for enjoyment anyway, regardless of how serious it got around me. But at 15, that was the point where I had to try and knuckle down. And I'm still a bit of an header at 15. So I had to have people around me as well to remind me, right, this is your job now.
Absolutely. I'll come back to that now because that's a really important point. But one of the things I was going to touch on as well is it's really good that you mentioned about the whole hyperactive thing as well, because these days, my personal opinion, not everyone will agree, but I think there's too much emphasis on like medicating kids to dumb them down and to
Absolutely.
shut them up, basically, unfortunately. And obviously, I was very hyperactive as a kid, by the way, as well. So I totally relate on a personal level to where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just love that you mentioned that, because I'd like to just take a moment to get your advice actually for people who, have kids who have loads of energy, or they know people who do, or whatever form it takes. What would you say? Would you say that, doing what was done to you, the best thing, put them in sports, yeah?
Absolutely. Credit and love to my mother, Donna. Like, handled me perfect. No, I don't think there's anyone else that could have handled me. Literally, I was out every night, and not to exhaustion, but I trained so much. I'd have fun. I didn't want to do anything else because I was having so much fun in sports. Like Monday was judo, Tuesday was football, Wednesday was rugby, Thursday was back to judo. But it wasn't that she was pushing me. It was I wanted to do it. And then some days I would train twice, or some days it'd be like swimming, then judo. But most definitely get your kids into sport, 100%, especially martial arts. There's so many clubs around these days. It teaches discipline. It teaches so many life lessons, like how to take losing, how to be humble in winning. So many lessons. 100% I would get your kids into martial arts or any sport. But obviously I'm a bit biased, martial arts.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's a powerful message, isn't it? And it's the thing is, whether people go on to compete or not, I'd say is less important than what you were just talking about.
Definitely.
The character it builds. I mean, I've seen, like, especially talking about martial arts now, yeah, and you will have seen this as well. Somebody comes into a club, a young kid, they're very shy, they won't talk to anybody, they keep to themselves, they're training for a few weeks or a few months or whatever for different people, and they're out and they talk.
Blossom.
For example, or and even with older people, I've seen sports help, mental health, addictions, anxiety, depression, trauma, like so many different types of things, from weight loss to managing, serious health conditions, anything.
100%.
It's a healing thing.
Even still to this day, I could be, so I still not have episodes, but I could be sitting around, I'm itching, I got to do something. I just go train, go for a nice long, even if it's just go for a nice long walk, but getting that heart rate up, releasing your endorphins, it just helps in general. Makes you happier, I think. 100%.
Yeah, 110%, and it's
and with the martial arts, you get to do with your friends. So even better.
That's the other thing, yeah, the bond and everything like that, and in a gym, and the banter and the connection, everything, next level as well. So yeah, absolutely wonderful. Wonderful thing to be involved in, wonderful community. Now, going back to when you were 15 and this is your job and everything, same type of thing, because I'd imagine that at that time that kept you out of a lot of the teenage distractions. Am I right in saying that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm still a bit wicked, so we still get up to a little bit of mischief. But like 90% of the time, I was training up to 8 hours a day. It'd be ridiculously hard and exhausting for me to go and do something that was not worthwhile, because in my head, I still want everything I wanted to do for a reason. I just got a bit distracted now and again. But then when you think about it, you're laying in bed and someone asks you, should we go do this? And you're like, I really need my sleep for the morning. Actually, I got training in the morning at 6 o'clock. Do I really need to be doing this, make myself more tired, more exhausted? And my training will take a lapse because of that. You just think about things twice. I don't get me wrong, sometimes I did do it and I learned the hard way, but that's another life lesson. You learn things, you grow.
Absolutely, yeah. And well, I mean, that's part of growing up, isn't it? That you
Exactly. You've got to make mistakes.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not healthy to make none. I mean, you've got to mess some things up and think, oh, what was I doing? Because that's part of growing up. But at the same time, the discipline and everything is powerful. In terms of the regime, like the regime and everything that you were doing as a teenager. Now, obviously, people involved in martial arts, people involved in judo will know the answer to this. But for people sort of on the outside, they're not familiar with how it works. I'd like to highlight that a bit more about basically what it's like in that situation. You're living there, you're training there, what the community is like, what the daily routine is like. Anything you'd like to share about that time in your life, basically.
100%. So yeah, so the community we had at the time was absolutely amazing. I basically lived with, well, about 8 or 9 people who were essentially either role models that I wanted to be like, or my best mates, because I trained for so long as well already. It was amazing. But the schedule, obviously, being 15 as well, you're still developing in your body. It could be tiring at times and hard. But I think a lot of people say it's you've got to give something up to gain. I don't think I give anything up. I didn't miss out on anything because what I was doing was a lot more important than the things that people say I'm missing out, like partying and stuff like that. I much preferred doing what I did, but it was very physically and mentally exhausting sometimes. Like we'd get up at 6 to train, and part of like our contract was we had to attend college because it was still essential for us to be educated and to have something to fall back on. So train at 6, be in college. We might have had a restricted schedule in college sometimes due to training and competition. But we go college, come home, train, eat. It can be hard. But like I said, it's hard to do if you don't love the sport. It's very, very hard to do if you don't love what you're doing, especially in that environment.
Absolutely, yeah. It's amazing. I mean, I've heard this before, on and off personally from people involved in judo, but I think it's amazing. It's an amazing system. But for people who don't know, it'll be fascinating, from the outside looking in. Another thing to touch on there, though, is obviously you've got to have a strong body, but to do what you're doing, you've got to have a strong mind as well, especially to train that hard day after day after day. What was the process you went through, in terms of sort of developing the mental strength and toughness and everything?
So to me, personally now, it wasn't really a choice. It was something that I had to do. So like you wake up every morning, you have to go to work. You have to pay the bills. So obviously I didn't have bills then, but in my mind, I wanted to do the Commonwealth, maybe an Olympics. Obviously I didn't reach that far, but it wasn't a choice. It was, right, if I want that, I have to do this. The journey is just as important as the outcome. You can't get the outcome without doing this. So it wasn't really a choice. I think if in someone's head is a choice, then you're going to struggle because it's so easy one day just to go, oh yeah, I'm not training today. I do it now. Now I'm not competing as much. I'm terrible for it. I go, oh, I'm all right today. I'm tired. But then when I was focused and driven and had clear goals, it weren't a choice.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And what you said about the love for the sport as well, though, that's got to factor into it, enjoying what you
Oh,
do.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. Because if you don't enjoy what you do, I mean, well, you know what they say, do a job you love, you never have to work a day in your life.
That is spot on.
Yeah, it comes in.
100%.
And I can tell, as you're talking, because your face lights up with like the memories of that great time. So obviously, you've achieved a lot in judo, and we'll come to the wrestling and things as well, obviously. But focusing on judo, I mean, you've achieved a lot of things. Now, I'd love to talk about them all, but we'd be here until next week. So what I was thinking is the best way to do it is to talk about basically which ones are your favorites. Now, this is a pretty big question because you've done a lot of things, but are there certain ones that stand out as being the most meaningful to you personally?
So the most meaningful one for me is the first time I represented Wales, but it's not because it was the first time. So I had a close bond with my great-grandfather, and I was lucky enough to know my great-grandfather. A lot of people don't, but I had a really close bond because we had similar attributes. We were very similar people. He was a footballer, but I took what he had in football to martial arts sort of thing. And he passed away the day I was leaving to compete for Wales. And even though I was 8, like it still sticks in my mind. And then when I won, my mother came to watch because it was only the Celtic Cup. It was in Scotland. So we all went up together. we had the Welsh bus, and then all the parents down the front. And I remember my mother taking me outside in the services and saying to me, "Oh, look, Gramps has passed away. I have to tell you just in case you could find out from someone else," sort of thing. But like, don't let it affect you. Use it to motivate you. You know what he would have been like. He'd be tamping now if you went up there and flopped because of that. He'd be devastated. And when I won gold, I get a bit thinking about it. She was like, "What? I was in my he was watching her. I was falling for him." I think that's the main one. And I think the last one, obviously I love that we've done a Commonwealth tournament because at the time Judo weren't in the Commonwealth Games. I fought 60 kilos and it was in Cardiff. And I was struggling for weight. So I had to cut loads of weight. I think it was the last time I fought 60 kilos. And it was a shame, really. I think I could have had gold. But yeah, I fought some good people. I beat an Olympian. So it was good. And then the last one, the main one that sticks in my mind, I think it was because I sort of not finished, but I was on the end of my judo career. And I fought 81 kilos, I think. That's how towards the end it was. I was starting off at 60, I was 81. I went up a weight category purely because I was just filling in the gap. I was still half decent, but I weren't at my peak. And I let another boy fight in 73s. So I weighed in, full belly, happy as Larry, went on the mat. And because there was no pressure, I just purely enjoyed myself. And that's the school game I had gold in.
Oh, absolutely amazing. I can see that, the smile that comes over your face and everything. Amazing achievements. And like I say, it was, I was thinking, well, everything you've done, how we're going to condense this down into something. And that was the best way I could think of. Which ones mean the most to you? Great grandfather story. Absolutely beautiful, by the way,
Thank you.
I got a lot of respect for people talking about things like that on interviews, because I know obviously, you want to do the interview, you want to get it out there, but it's personal things. So I got a lot of respect for.
But like you said, it's going backwards now. It's like channeling things. Like a lot of people would dwell, a lot of people would let it eat them up, and that'd be it then. They wouldn't be able to compete. They would pull out, or they wouldn't go to work, or they wouldn't do something. I think it's a good way, very, very useful way to like channel aggression, all emotions.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, it actually is a very powerful life lesson that you had there, that you mentioned there, because this day and age, I mean, isn't there such an emphasis on being positive and being like that all the time? And obviously the problem with that is, yeah, okay, you want to think more positive, that's true, but we're human and nobody's going to feel good. A lot of times you wake up in the morning, you probably don't want to train, you think, oh man, it's early, why am I doing this, whatever. And everybody feels this type of thing. Everyone feels anger and sadness and all these different things. It's not about what you feel, but how you use it. And that's a very
exactly
lesson that, again, martial arts teaches, doesn't it? Bang on, it teaches you how to focus these things into a constructive outlet, not a destructive outlet. So really good life lesson. It's applicable to sports, but it's applicable to life. So
so many transferable skills each way.
Absolutely. But exactly, yeah, that's the thing, back and forth, 100%. So with the one that you mentioned with your great granddad and everything, was that one of your toughest ones? Because the reason I ask this is that obviously a lot of times when I say, oh, what was your toughest competition, people think it's specifically about the tournament itself or whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's outside of it's outside of that, isn't it? Oftentimes it's something in life. Which ones stand out for you as being the tournaments where you had to sort of dig the deepest and push through things? Obviously that would be one of them. There'll be others.
I think for me, I say some people wire differently in me. Like, so I think the way I thought about it, like I was giving my best regardless that day for him and because of him. Like, and like my mother, the way she dealt with things, and she knew the way I work and the way she put it to me. Like, again, like that's a major part of my whole career, my mother. I think I was probably the easiest, as mad as it sounds, because there was no way I was coming away that day. Even if I'd lost, that would have been the best I'd ever fought, because it was under 16 as well. So although I was 8, I could have fought a 16-year-old. Yeah. So I wasn't even expected to win as such.
Wow.
I think that was definitely, sometimes, although it sounds a bit mad, something that affects you can drive you even more.
Absolutely, it can. Yeah, like I was saying, powerful life lesson there. I love that. Something else I think that will be interesting to touch on here is obviously you were achieving a lot at a young age. You know, like I say, as a child
Yeah,
through your teenagehood. Now, obviously, when we're young, as I mentioned earlier, we're susceptible to different influences and everything. So, in terms of like, obviously, you're a very humble person. That comes over now, and you know, but in terms of being that age and being like top level, or reaching high levels and everything, and keeping your feet on the ground. How did you do that? Well, as you were sort of.
or I weren't always like this. I did used to strut around, used to think I was top dog a bit. But obviously, you get knocked down a peg or two, you realize, oh, do you know what? Like, I'm not the thing. I'm not, oh my God, you fight people, you travel, you speak to people who've done Olympics and won Olympics, and they still, you never know it because they don't say, or they're not saying. It does bring you down to earth. I'm still a bit cocky. I still fancy myself as an athlete, and I still would never back anyone else other than myself in competition. But there's a fine line between confidence and a bit of cockiness, being nice, a bit happy out there, and arrogance. I think I got the fine line now. At that age, not so much. I used to walk around like I was a top dog. But like I say, you get humbled on the journey. There's only one way to learn, and you just got to keep going.
Absolutely.
And I got good network of friends, like Curtis Dodge, been my mate for 20 plus years because of martial arts. He's not afraid to humble me now and again. But like you say, it's good to have.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is the thing. It's all part of the process, and as you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
martial arts and sports in general improves people as human beings, not just as athletes, but in other life areas. So that was part of the process. So yeah, I mean, it's bound to happen, man. I mean, anybody in your shoes would go up there for a while, even if you come back down. I mean, it's natural. So again, fair dues for giving that a mention. Obviously, coming into this as well, you haven't just stuck to judo though, because obviously the wrestling and other things is a big factor with this. And one of the things I think is super cool about you is the diversity, is the fact you haven't just stayed in like, oh, this is my niche. You've achieved some big things in other sports. Now, you'll have to correct me on a timeline of, I'm assuming that the wrestling was after the judo and everything, or were they
Some
overlapping?
of it was simultaneously.
Yeah, okay. Fair
So
play.
with the judo and wrestling, it is very similar. Obviously, one's just without your pajamas on. um, so one of our judo coaches turned into a wrestling coach as well. And they sort not amalgamated, but we sort of cross-trained and stuff. And I think I sort of, in my head, maybe I was wrong because I could be quite stubborn as well at times. But I think in my head, I plateaued and I hit a wall with judo. I didn't achieve as much as I wanted. So I went on to the wrestling, still competing at judo, but I went on to the wrestling and took to it like that. I mean, my first ever competition, I think, was up in Nottingham, and I fought the British champion. And with the wrestling, it's points. It goes by points. So, like with judo, it was hip on, win, hold down, win, and a few little bits in between. But the wrestling, it keeps going until you get 10 points clear or a pin. And I remember the ref, it was so funny. So, like, it's sacrifice throws and stuff in judo, they don't carry across to wrestling. So, if you do them, you both get the same points because it's all about exposure and control. Well, the first competition I fought the British champion, the ref was like, hands everywhere, points on the board, going, beep, 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 beep. So he was like, oh, but like, he didn't clearly beat me. He didn't make a fool out of me. So I thought that was the turning point. Well, one competition, I had silver, and I thought, yeah, do you know what? I love this. It's a lot more intense than judo as well, which I think being hyperactive all the time and being on the go, I like the intensity, and it was a bit more getting stuck in, whereas judo can be quite beautiful to watch, very elegant. The wrestling's like, boof, head to head, let's go. And I like that about it. So I just took to that then.
Wow, that is amazing. Like I said, that the switch. I understand the common ground, but nonetheless, being diverse, moving out of your comfort zone, because even though there's things that will cross over, there's bound to be other things you have to adapt to. Mad respect for that. So same thing as a judo, to sort of condense it down, for time, your proudest moments as a wrestler, what would they be? I mean, that first tournament sounds like it was pretty special
So
too.
the first tournament is up there because I also got invited to British squad training. By I can't remember the coach's name at the time, but I got invited to British squad training straight away for the talent squad. I think another one was when I can't remember the age, but Ohio State University from America came over. They toured a lot of the world, and they just happened to be in Cardiff, so they got in contact with us, and we done a team event. And I hadn't long been doing wrestling again then, and there was a massive team, Wales versus. It was called Wales versus USA, but it was Wales versus Ohio State. And I had an All-American, All-State champion. First fight, I don't know if he was, they have divisions in America, so I'm not sure what division he was, because obviously All-American Division 1, you're talking Olympic level, world class, which obviously I don't think he was that because I happened to beat him. But in my head, at that young, I just beat an All-American, All-State. That's up there for me. I remember the first European Cup I done for Wales in Malta. That was amazing. So I'm really close with my coach through wrestling as well. And also my best mate now, he's Commonwealth bronze medalist wrestling. So got a lot of ties to it. But my coach at the time, Alan Jones, he was main coach, taking us everywhere. And he said to me, look, I think you're ready now. We'll go abroad, just have a look, test we've got. So we went to Malta, European Cup, and I schooled everyone. I won. I don't think I conceded a point all day. And that stays up there for me. That's one of the best ones.
Wow, that is incredible. I mean, incredible achievements. I love asking that question because you never know, out of people like yourself who've achieved so much, you never know which ones are going to come back as the favorites. It's not always the ones you think. So it's quite cool. You touched on something else there that's interesting about going to Malta and everything. I think this is something cool, especially for the up and coming people watching this. It's one of the intangible benefits, as well as the self-improvement and the respect and the discipline. Obviously, you do get to see the world through martial and sports in ways that you wouldn't otherwise. So when it comes to some of the favorite places that sports has taken you, what are some of the ones that stand out as some of the best places you've been that you wouldn't have seen otherwise, type of thing?
As mad as it sounds, like I think the best memories I got from traveling are probably the countries you wouldn't expect. So I got a lot of good memories in Poland. I got a lot of good memories, Estonia, Latvia, those sort of countries. I think because of the sport we done, you was respected in those countries, not so much over here. I think because of the football, the rugby, the glamorous sports, you sort of get pushed aside in this country. Well, when you go abroad to like Poland, we went to Latvia, I've been to Singapore, like places like that. I didn't have a chance to go to Japan, which I gutted about. But those sort of countries, you're treated almost like royalty. You can walk in a sports centre, and I remember I'd just won bronze in a European in Poland, and then you had little kids asking for your autograph and stuff. It was as if you were superstars in them countries. They were amazing memories. They were.
Wow.
I think, and we fought in Spain quite a bit, which was always nice because you got the weather. But I think Singapore was up there, one of the nicest ones as well. Definitely. Didn't travel so much worldwide. It was more Europe, but Eastern Europe, they loved us. And I think because of the personality I got as well, could probably tell, bubbly, chatty. Like everyone sort of like, we talked to him, and I always ended up with the home nation countries, bringing the Welsh team, and it was always like, I remember Estonia taking us out for a beer and go to see like sightseeing. So I was lucky, traveled loads. Like I said, I never would have been able to travel anywhere. Or I say anywhere, I would have had holidays once a year. So I was just a normal valley kid. But with that, I remember going from 1 month, I didn't see my family. I went from Poland to Spain, from Spain to Germany, and Germany back to Poland, and then we went home.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, yeah, again, it's something that I think is absolutely amazing as an intangible benefit of sports. It's something I hope that'll inspire a few of the youngsters as well to keep pushing because it is something that, as you say, I mean, how else are you gonna travel? Yeah,
Definitely.
this is the thing. So obviously you achieved a great deal and everything. You have a lot to be proud of. But you did say earlier that you didn't really, I mean, with judo anyway, you said that you didn't really reach the sort of the level that you wanted to. So when you look back on your career now, how do you feel about the level that you got to? Because I mean,
I'm happy with it,
yeah,
but there's definitely regrets on my side. Not so much regrets, learning moments, like teaching moments. Like I don't regret it because I think I had a whale of a time and I've experienced things that a lot of people would never experience in their life. But if I was to tell someone else, I would perhaps go in full time for me. Like I was very immature and spontaneous. That's probably the best word for me, spontaneous at 15. So to try and anchor me down and try and keep me focused on one thing and keep me dedicated and motivated would have been a very difficult job. I think if I had just perhaps done my A levels at home, stayed at home a bit longer, maybe gone down at 18 full time, when I'd more matured and stuff, because I think some of the decisions, some of the decisions anyone would have to make at the age of 15, I think I made the wrong ones. But at the end, I'm still a kid at 15. For me to make, I was making adult decisions at the age of 15, and I think I'd made a few wrong ones, especially with I used to struggle, not struggle, but making weight was one of my main focuses for me because I used to I still love my grub, as you can probably tell. But at my best, I was fighting 60 kilos, and I was very good at that weight. But trying to get me to that weight was another thing. So like now, if I was going to fight now and someone said this is the best weight you would be, I would have a dietitian, nutrition. I would listen and I would take it on board. Was like I said earlier, at 15, I still thought I was top dog again as well. So I literally left school to be a professional athlete. I had all the results under the sun at that age. And I thought, oh, I know best. I'll do it this way. But it didn't always work. I think that's, not regret. That's the only thing that would change. Everything else I'm all right with.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it does, and it does show the other side of the coin as well, because obviously, everything you've achieved, you have a lot to be proud of. You've experienced amazing things. But yeah, I mean, being 15, it is a lot on your shoulders, or it was a lot on your shoulders at that time. And I sort of got that vibe, so it makes sense. But, we live and learn, and, everything you've achieved, well, I'm glad that you're proud of it, because so you should be. When it comes to this sort of topic of we're talking about your younger self, but obviously, in more recent times, you've been moving into the coaching sort of space yourself, and you've been giving back and contributing, and you've got a few different things going on. So starting at the beginning, let's talk about the initial inspiration to want to sort of coach people, mentor people, and give back in that way, basically.
So it's always been in my mind that I wanted to be a coach. And it's always been sort of part of my plan. But how it started, it was beginning of this year. I worked the doors occasionally. And I was talking to a guy that my mate knows. And he opened up his own gym. And it turns out that he needed help or I was doing this and that. I was like, oh, happy days. Sounds perfect opportunity. And jumped on it. And didn't really expect much of it. I just thought, oh, maybe extra couple of quid here and there, help out with the kids, maybe do a few classes, just get to get my name out there, put the feelers out. And I looked at a few things online about sort of marketing and the social media side of things. And I thought, oh, just on a whim, I started putting posts out and the amount of how fast the replies were coming in, well, it went from 0 to 100 pretty fast. So within the space of March, I started. From March to now, I've got 17 regular clients, players, just hobbyists come in, and obviously they're enjoying my time, they're enjoying me, they're learning. So I got 17 on my books. I've been offered like I said, we're taken on down Fight Project Gym in Llanelli as the head coach of wrestling. And there's another club down the pipeline opening up soon. I can't disclose yet, but beat around the bush that I'll be doing the judo and wrestling there. There's also another little bit of news, hopefully. I can't say too much because there's a lot of things that have to happen for me to have it, but down the pipeline when I could be coaching as well. Without saying too much because it's not set in stone yet. But yeah, so there's a lot of things in the pipeline.
Absolutely. Well, the best is yet to come. Like I said at the beginning, I mean,
Yeah.
the big things ahead. The future is very bright and everything. So, that is super cool, and I'm well happy for you that you're passing on your knowledge and everything, because like I said earlier, it's not just about sports; it's about life as well. And when you're passing on your knowledge, it's improving people just as people. Never mind as athletes.
Yeah.
So, what is your personal favorite part about being a coach? What do you enjoy most about your role?
So when I started off the coaching this year, I was not adamant, but I was in my, I don't really want to coach kids at the moment because I work with kids as well. My job is like a residential childcare officer, so that's with kids. I thought I don't want it to feel too much like work outside of work. So I took on a few adults, and then a mate of mine messaged, I'm come training with you, but it's all right if I bring the kids. They'd love to learn. And I thought, oh, yes, fine. Then there'll be 3 of you. We'll all have a laugh. We'll all join in. And it turns out they ended up not pushing him aside. But I was like, yeah, you do that for there. Come here, boys. Let's do bits with you, because they looked like they were loving life, enjoying themselves. So I took the turn a bit. I started off wanting to just do adults, maybe MMA-based grappling and stuff like that, because that's sort of the in thing at the moment and where the market is pushing towards. It turned out that I was like, no, I want to build the future. I want, especially at the moment, I think like Welsh sport in general is not where it could be. And I was like, no, like this is where the future is. That we need to push these youngsters, keep them motivated and make them want to do the sport forever. I think that's what gripped me in. When you've seen the kids smile, laughing about, and let them throwing me about, and like, especially with more like the judo in this country, they probably would have heard of me. So it was like, oh, I'm throwing TC. And I was like, yes, I'm going to go on, throw me into the mat. And you could see them laughing and giggling and loving life. I think that took it for me.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like I said, it's a wonderful thing. It's a powerful thing, to pass on knowledge and just contribute to people. I mean, there's that old saying in there, what we do for ourselves dies with us, but what we do for others, lives on forever, or something like that. But in other words, having a positive impact on people, helping people, like I said, whether they compete or not, but just helping them with their confidence and just helping them have fun and enjoy, being in a physical space. It's a wonderful thing. But as well as that, though, you have had some good results, because when you messaged me some stuff over, you mentioned about having youngsters in tournaments and medaling and all that.
Yeah.
Thing. So you're being quite humble. Let's talk a little bit about some of those achievements as well.
So I done a seminar I did in Centre Judo in Talbot, and a youngster came along with her parents, and for Sam, he got in contact with me straight away after the seminar, asking for coaching and extras. I was like, yeah, no problem. I told him where I was, how to get there, blah, blah, blah. And he brought his 2 little nippers down, Jasmine and Ashwin. And I'd done a couple of weeks with them, and they went to Antwerp Open, which I competed in myself. So it was nice little nostalgia there as well. So they competed in that. I think they both came back with silver. Yeah, they both came back with silver. But it weren't just that they came back with silver. They came back with silver, and their father said, the gripping strategies you've done with them and the throw they done, they used in every fight. The only one they didn't use it in was in the final, because the guy that they were fighting, competed against, sort of worked it out. But every fight they won was with something I had showed them. So it was heartwarming. It was beautiful, lovely to hear.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is absolutely amazing. It must be an incredible feeling, when people are sort of reaching some of their potential through what you've taught them. That's a beautiful thing. So obviously you're doing that at the moment, and it's quite recent, isn't it? There's a few things in the pipeline, and
yeah,
these things going on. but you're already having great results so far. So going forward, if you sort of map that forward, like maybe, I don't know, another year or a couple of years, or however far you want to go, really, where would you like to be from this point on?
So I got a little 5-year plan in my head. Ideally, I'd like to sort of finish work and concentrate just on coaching. Maybe be up there or with national coaches for wrestling and judo. Have my own bigger space where I can sort of have more like a well-being centre rather than just a gym. And I'd like to work with sort of young offenders and stuff like that. Not that I can relate to being a young offender, but I know how wild I was. So if they can channel their aggression, their emotions to something, I'd rather it be something like that's the ideal thing. So I can have like maybe a salon in there, like sauna, steam rooms, my own gym. Love to have my own gym wear brand, like that sort of thing. But all aimed towards helping youngsters pretty much come through the system and earn and achieve more than I did. If I could coach someone that went to the Olympics, that would make it all well worth it for me. Well, even less than I'd make it worth it. But that, I think at the moment, that would be the perfect goal. Have my own centre, have my own sort of brand, and all aim towards youngsters and get them on the right process, right path.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely amazing. I mean, this is the thing, like I said to you right at the beginning, role models and the concept of role models, as an athlete, you are a role model, and it does have a responsibility that comes with it. And it's a wonderful thing to use that to be that role model for other people, if you like. I mean, like I was saying at the beginning, in our communities in Wales, and in a lot of places, but especially from looking at it from that point of view, there's not a lot of that. There's a lot of negative influences with drugs and crime and problems and everything.
Yeah.
So showing that people can use their emotions constructively is very powerful. Now, obviously, earlier on at the beginning, I asked you for your advice on a couple of topics and everything like that. I'd like to do the same again with somebody who wants to succeed and make this one a little bit more sports specific. So earlier we were talking about, channeling your emotions and I asked you something else, like I can't even remember what it was, but it was something, it was really good what you said. But in terms of like somebody who wants to reach a high level, more specifically in martial arts, don't give away too much, because if they want to know, they should come and see you. But maybe one or two things to just whet people's appetite a little bit for like, okay, this is something that can help them,
I'm willing to say, like, if anyone wants to message me, my Instagram's coaching with TC. But the answer I'll give you now is find the goal and double it. Because if your goal and dreams don't, Muhammad Ali said, I think, if your dreams don't scare you, they ain't big enough. So you've got to find something, double it. Because another saying, if you aim for the moon, at least stars, definitely to just focus, and the bad times and the good times, they'll all come. You might get distracted. The path is never one straight path, but no matter where it leads you, make sure you find your way back to that main goal, 100%.
Absolutely. There's some amazing wisdom there, and I know it's a little snippet and you can share a lot more when people come and see you. Now, you mentioned about your Instagram, but yeah, I was going to ask you the same thing. People want to contact you, people want to get in touch with you. Instagram is the best way. Is that the best way?
Instagram is coaching with TC, and my Facebook's Thomas Little. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, like I said, or even take new judokas and wrestlers and grapplers on. More than happy. I also do online coaching for strategy, and I can do the greatest syllabus for judo and gripping strategies, game plans, anything like that.
Absolutely amazing. Well, you heard it first, everybody. You know where to contact Thomas, find out some more about what he has to offer, because like I said to you at the beginning, I really hope that this helps you get your coaching out there a bit more and everything, because it's quite new what you're doing, but you're already having great results. So I hope that this helps in a small way, in a big way, whatever, we'll see. But either way, it'll raise a profile a little bit and get your name out there. I mean, like I said to you at the beginning, it's twofold with this. It's firstly, you've achieved some amazing things. You've got a good heart in you. You've got a heart of gold in there, I can tell, and everything.
Thank you.
And you know, you've achieved a lot. So that's the first thing. But this obviously the second thing is now you're giving back, you know, now you're coaching. It's what I'm all about as well. And it's a new venture. So I thought, you know, yeah, let's get it out there. So we'll wrap this up shortly. Before we do, the other thing I often do when I'm closing out on interviews is I often ask people, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to? Because obviously we focused on what you've achieved, but obviously through your journey, through judo, through wrestling, and now as a coach, there's probably people helping you, and you know them and they know you, but for the world they're sort of behind the scenes in a way, so are there people that you'd like to give?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for giving me the chance. So up there with the main ones, obviously my mother, Donna Little, absolute legend. Anyone who follows my social media will know how mad she is. Kieran Chambers for giving me the opportunity in for Talbot in Carmarthen, and the best two I could ever ask for, best mates, known him for donkey's years, Curtis Dodge, grew up doing judo with him, then we transferred to wrestling together, absolutely love the bloke, and Ashley Williams for another good one, met him doing martial arts, absolutely love the boys. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's sound. That is, well, it's great to give them a mention, like I say, because there's a lot of people helping people behind the scenes and in your community and everything is known. But like for the wider world, it's good to give them a mention. And there's one other small thing I forgot to ask you, but I meant to ask you earlier, but it slipped my mind. You've dabbled in like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. Am I correct in saying that you've?
So I haven't competed in BJJ, but I've trained a little bit here and there. BJJ, I got a blue belt with Pedro Bessa. BJJ is not one of my favorite grappling sports because it's too slow. That's all. It's just too slow for me. But what I do with being coaching, which is a lot of the, like I said, I followed the sort of market. So I took my specialties and transferred them over to BJJ. So more to do with the takedowns, gripping strategies, feet positioning, head positioning, stuff like that. That's what I tend to steer towards at the moment because that's what people want, and that's what I'm very good at. The groundwork so much, I let them take that back to the clubs. I'll show you how to get them down, and you, a coach, can show you how to finish.
Oh, that's really good though, because I just wanted to give that a mention because it's just something else you've touched on. Well, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been really, really good talking with you. And, I've said this to a few people lately. I don't say it to everybody, but I will say to you, a little while down the line when the coaching's gone forward, and the few steps when you've got your own gym, when you're doing some of these things, we'll do this again. We'll do an update and we'll tell everybody, what's happening. I mean, by that time they'll be hearing about it anyway, but we'll do an update. We can, update people some more on what's happening. And that's something that, if you want to do, you'd be more than welcome.
More than happy. Absolutely.
Yeah, because like I say, I mean, I think that the best is yet to come. And now, you're showing people what's possible, how to reach their potential, how to avoid a few pitfalls as well. I mean, obviously, there are some things you've learned the hard way and some things you've learned.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not going to say the easy way, but some things you've learned like the better way and some things the hard way. That's life for all of us. But passing on that knowledge is powerful. So yeah, definitely we'll do an update down the road. But for now, I hope that this helps you just get your story out there about everything you've achieved and about everything you're doing now. And it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I've enjoyed it. And
thank you very much. I've enjoyed it. It's been an absolute pleasure for me as well. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.